Grand Rising Elizabeth.
Red
And
Rising.
I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on the Health and Wellness Show today. It's always a blessing to see each and every one of you, and I thank you for joining us. But I am truly honored to have my co-host, Sister Stacy. Um, she is also known as AKA Nurse Stacy, because she has a podcast. And the name of this is Living for Life Podcast. So if you would have time to listen to her, she can give you more information about when you can join and how you can join. But we are so honored to have her reaching out to even more of the world. But today she's going to share some wonderful news like she always does. She's going to discuss soul and grief, finding peace through loss. Let me say that again, because when she told that to me, I was like, oh, that's a nice title, finding peace through loss. And so I'm going to actually turn it over to Sister Stacy, and we can get started.
Grand Rising, ladies.
Red Rising.
Thanks for joining today. As she said, I did just start my podcast, and it's called Mindful Living with Nurse Stacy, and I started it about almost a month ago, and I'm just happy to be on that journey of living life mindfully, and this is one of the places on the Grand Rising Elizabeth show that I choose to be intentional, consistent, and sharing my life mindfully, and also sharing what I know about living life mindfully. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me bring this up first. Oh, 1 second. Let me share my screen. Don't mind that stuff. Uh-oh, let me go back. I'm trying to move this out of the way. So, the soul and grief, finding peace through loss. Now, I'll definitely say this at this particular time in my life is not something that's really easy to talk about, but it's very needful. And I found that the more that I've talked about it since the loss of my mother, it has been exactly 7 days since I lost my mother. And the funeral is not until Friday. And so for me to be in a community like the Grand Rising Elizabeth show is so powerful to me because it gives me a place to express my voice and to express my feelings and deal with life on life terms. So um, the night before my mom passed, that was something that I was thinking about, grief. And so I decided that I would find a topic to talk about or find something that I could voice my um, or to just give my voice to so that I could, help myself heal through this whole process. So we'll get started. So I like to talk about grief and what it is. Grief is love that has nowhere to go. Now, when I first heard that, I'm like, what does that mean? Grief is love and has nowhere to go. So basically, what it's saying is love that exists in the context of loss. So, grief love is the love that exists in the context of loss. And when we lose someone we deeply care about, those death care about through death, I'm sorry, separation or even emotional distance, the love feels for the love we feel it doesn't disappear. So when we lose someone, the love that we feel does not disappear. I think I spelled that wrong. That's why it threw me off. it transforms into a kind of aching presence. It's love that is tangled with sadness, longing, and sometimes guilt or regret. And in the part where it says nowhere to go, normally love is expressed through connection. So through presence and through words and actions and care. But when the person we love is gone, that unusual outlet is blocked. The love has no direct way to reach the person, and sometimes no way to be shared with others in a meaningful way. And it feels like it's stuck inside of us because it doesn't have anywhere to go when it's directed at the person that we lost. So together, grief love that has nowhere to go is the feeling of love for someone who has been lost, where that love can't be expressed or acted upon. It manifests as deep sadness. And then it also manifests as a feeling of emptiness or emotional stuckness. And then a need to honor or remember the person, even if they can't respond. That need is still there. And sometimes people channel these rituals, or they use rituals to channel the expressions. And they use also creative expressions or acts of kindness, or they try to find a safe way to let the love flow, even when the person is no longer physically present. So yeah, I did take a moment to breathe and reflect on that, because that was something that I didn't quite understand. What is grief? Grief is love having nowhere to go. Yeah. When I lost my mom, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm grieving here. I can't really talk to her about it because she's no longer here. So what is grief? It's emotional, mental, and spiritual response to loss. The emotional response is sadness, longing, emptiness, anger, or fear about the future. You can tell I got a lot of typos here. It's relief in some situation, and especially after prolonged suffering. That's the emotional response. And then the mental response is difficulty, the things that we experience as a result of the mental response, difficulty concentrating or making decisions. And that was definitely something that I experienced this past week. It was difficult making decisions, and people were asking me questions, and I'm like, I don't know what to do now. But it's the intrusive thoughts about the person or event. It can also represent itself in the form of being confused, having disbelief or denial. And then you could have obsessive ruminations about what could have been done differently. And that's just something that plays off in our head, about the whole situation of the loss. Your mind just ruminates, you don't even try to allow your mind to ruminate. It just automatically does it. And in the spiritual response, sometimes we'll question the meaning or the purpose, or we question faith. And then we have feelings of being disconnected from a higher power or community. But seeking comfort through prayer, meditation, or rituals is something that we can actually do. Experiencing a sense of I don't even know how to say that word, transcendence or connection beyond the physical world. So these are some very real emotions that we experience, from the emotional, mental, and spiritual responses to grief. So the anticipatory grief, and this one hits home for me because this is something that we suffer with, or we grieve way before a person is gone. So grief that occurs before the actual loss occurs. It's usually when a loved one is terminally ill or facing a major life change or major life changes. It's a form of pre-losing, allowing emotional preparation. And I was telling someone about this about a year and a half ago. My friend called me and she told me that she had lost her mother. And I told her, I lost my mom too. But she knows that she didn't physically die. But what I was trying to say to her is, I lost my mother because my mother was no longer there as I knew her to be. Her mind was gone, her memories were gone. Her body was declining. She was getting ready to make her journey through life to the transition phase. And when I told her that I lost my mom too, at that particular time, I didn't even know how to explain it. But all I knew is that I felt grief way before then. And it's really complicated because it feels like you're actually living in two worlds. You have this anticipatory grief that's saying that, okay, I don't know how long this whole phase is going to be. And with my mom, it was actually 5 years of anticipatory grief, knowing that the actual loss is going to occur, but I'm grieving before it actually happens. And then another one is called, is the other type is complicated, and it's grief that is prolonged or intense, and it interferes with daily life. And the person themselves struggles to move forward, often feeling stuck or unable to accept the loss. Now, that is complicated. And a lot of times people don't understand that. And a lot of times people will say, oh, just go ahead and move on, move on from here, or get past it, or something like that. And not recognizing that this type of grief is complicated to the person that is experiencing it. And they don't know how to move forward. They have the feelings of being stuck. And then the other one is called disenfranchised. This is a grief that society does not recognize or validate, because it's a grief that people have over their pets, or a secret relationship, or an estranged family member, somebody that they didn't really know. The mourner may feel isolated or unsupported because people don't recognize that grief is grief, no matter what form it comes in, whether it's someone, a family friend, a loved one, a pet, or whatever. Grief is grief. It's just a sense of loss. So the soul's journey in grief. I can definitely say grief affects the mind, body, and soul. And it connects us to meaning. And when I say it connects us to meaning, the meaning is love and presence. And so to me, grief is no different than love itself. Their two are so connected, and it's so aligned with being present. So like I was saying, anticipatory grief, grieving before the physical loss. And the examples of that is someone could be illness or lose their abilities, and changing the relationship. So some of you may have experienced some of this too, because when my mom was diagnosed with dementia, it did change our relationship. We used to hang out, go out to eat. We used to talk on the phone for hours. We would go to sleep on the phone and wake up on the phone. We had this dialogue that went on and on and on. Me and my mom talked so much. I was like, I was so glad that she had more friends to talk to, because it would take up a lot of my time, and I had to, do other things, but she always wanted to stay on the phone. And when the phone rang with someone else that loved her and wanted to talk to her, I'm like, yeah, because, she could talk, and she could talk and talk and talk. But that was a relationship that changed, and something that I was so tied to. And when that relationship was gone, it was a deep loss right there. So it is difficult to try to tell someone who has lost their parent or lost their loved one in death, that it's difficult to say to them, or it's difficult for them to understand how you grieve when a person is still here. So it's complex, and grief is not linear. I mean, it doesn't have a straight line that it follows. It doesn't dictate what's going to happen from day to day. It just deals with whatever we're dealing with. It deals with our emotions, our sadness, anger, guilt, numbness, and relief. All of these are part of healing. And I'll dig a little bit into that. And I'll go ahead and take your hand, Joy.
Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand
Grand Rising.
Rising.
I wanted to say about this grief, and everybody does it differently too,
That's
which is so interesting, how you handle it and how you look at it. And, more so than anything, we live in our minds. We definitely live in our minds. But one thing I really wanted to express is that, people grieve differently, and you have to allow a person to be as they are. And that was it.
well said.
Mhm.
Normalizing your emotions. How do you do that? Like Joy just said, there's no right way to grieve. There's no wrong way to grieve. Everybody grieves the way they grieve, and no one should ever, ever, ever be judged for the way they grieve. So offer compassion to yourself and others when they're grieving, because you don't know the bond that they had with the person that they're grieving for. Bonds are different, and a lot of our bonds are triggered by different things. Like when you lose someone, it could be triggered by a smell. It could be triggered by a place that you guys went together, or you frequently went to together. It could be triggered by music. And when you get that trigger, it's out of nowhere. Like, it's not, like I said, it's not linear. It's just like out of nowhere. And just like I had an episode yesterday, and someone was asking me for something that they needed for the funeral. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this overwhelming anxiety. And I'm like, whoa. And my body sensed it. In my body, I could feel the anxiety revving up in my body. And then all of a sudden, I had this overwhelming sadness. And I had to tell my husband to do something for me, because I was like, listen, right now I'm sad. And I had to tell him, because he would have kept at me like, you don't know I'm sad, because sometimes our facial expressions don't show it. So I had to tell him, listen, I'm sad right now. I need you to do this for me or do that for me, because now is not a time to be talking right now. So whenever you're going through these situations of trying to normalize your emotions, just know that you need to give yourself some grace, have compassion for yourself, and also have compassion for others who are going through the similar situation. So carrying love forward. How do we carry love forward? How do we continue bonds after loss? And then some of the ways that we can continue bonds after loss is having some rituals that we could do. One of the rituals that we could do is like light a candle in their honor. It's something about lighting a candle and seeing that candle burn, seeing the light of that candle, and especially if it has a scent to it that reminds you of that person. That's a good way to continue the bond after loss. And then the traditions that the person held. You know how we have traditions in our families, and we do certain things to keep us connected, and certain like holidays we get together, and certain things that your family may have shared with you along the way on how you should live your life. Those are some traditions that you can just sit around and talk about. Do the storytelling part of it. Tell the stories of what it was that they honored and what they held dear to themselves. And that will help you carry the love forward, because as long as you're talking about it, like when I start talking about my mom and how much love she showed and how many people loved her, when I start telling those stories, that's a way of me carrying her love forward, because I'm not keeping her love with me and holding it and handling it. I'm moving it out and letting people know that this is how my mom was. And this is the story that I'm sharing with everybody. So then you can also do some services in their honor. Like, I know a lot of people, especially rich people, they give to charities that the person that you lost held dear in their heart. Like, for instance, I would love to give to the charity of dementia in the honor of my mom, just to have something to hold on to as a ritual. So finding peace through loss. Yeah. So when you're looking for peace through loss, some people think that if you forget about somebody that you're not going to find peace, but peace doesn't mean forgetting. Peace just means that you're remembering someone, not forgetting them. It means that love without pain, it's love without pain that's ruling your heart. You know what I'm saying? You can have pain, but the pain doesn't rule your heart. It doesn't allow you to stop and move forward. So finding that peace is something that you have to seek after. And you can only seek after it through doing certain things or putting yourself in the spot where you're going to find peace. You have to look for it. You can't find peace if you don't look for it. So this is some of the ways that you could help someone who is dealing with a grief and they can't move forward because they feel stuck in there. One way is to help them find peace. And some of the tools you can use is meditation, prayer, and journaling. To me, meditation works really, really well. And prayers, prayer and the faith in the God that you know that God did not make a mistake, that God knows what he's doing, and writing that down and writing down things that you remember about the person, it really helps. And especially when you journal it, it's a way that you can go back and look at what it is that you wrote, especially at certain times. What I decided I was going to do, my mom died on August 19th. And when I looked up the date, the 19th, it had a very significant meaning to it. And it kind of meant that one phase of the life is gone, but another phase of the life is moving on. And I may find that when we get to the end of it, just to talk about what it is that I decided I was going to do. But what I did was I put that 19th date on my calendar. And on the 19th of every month, what I plan to do is to use that day to do something that reminds me of my mom. Like my mom was a very giving person. So on that day, like September 19th, I can decide that I'm going to do something for someone and I'm going to give something to someone because that's what my mom did. She was a giving person. She was a lovable person. And then maybe the next month on the 19th, I can decide I'm going to intentionally call someone that I could spend some time with, that I can share my life with. And that's right there is a way that you can use the day that they died or use that as a memorial to them to keep them close in your heart and to also express the love that they had for you, and that love that they have for you, you can express that love to others as well. So, like I said, some of the things are spiritual perspectives. Many traditions see the soul as eternal. And I don't know about traditions as well as, how can I say, spirituality. I wouldn't call spirituality a tradition in and of itself, but I will call it something that you believe in. And I definitely believe that the soul is eternal because God is eternal. And it reminds me of that scripture that says in Genesis, I believe it's 2:7. And actually it's the 6th verse that goes before it that says that, and God formed man from the dust of the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Well, that breath that was breathed into them and they become a living soul is an eternal breath. And when that breath leaves the body, it goes back to the person, to God who gave it. And you're forever with God. And I'm reminded of the scripture that says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. It is so comforting to know that when you have faith in God and when you have faith in his word, you know where that person is. You know that if they walked in love, that that person is with God and their breath is with God. And the scripture that says God so loved the world that he gave, God gave us eternal life when he breathed into us. And so if God gave us eternal life when he breathed into us, that love that God put in us, because God is love, transcends death. So we can't look at death as death. We need to look at it as sleep. But death is another word for those who transition in God. Death is another word for sleep. And grief transforms love. So there's some practices for healing. Oh, Deidre, did you have something that you want to say?
Yes, I did. Just on your last screen, it said that it can be eternal, that going through
Mm-hmm.
love, even with someone that's transitioning, is eternal. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt that when I went through a transition with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give kudos to A Course in Miracles because I was really into A Course in Miracles at that time. Um, and it really helped me to handle the transition of my father. It was to the point that I realized that, and I don't mean to be, I want to say this, but I don't want it to come across as too unfeeling or something because that's not it. But when he was going through transition, it was like I realized that he was a body that I was right there with him, but
Mm-hmm.
his spirit was eternal. So it's not it was right there with me too, but it was going to go on forever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kept that in my mind, knowing that as he went through this transition, the body will go, but the spirit will and the soul will be here forever. So that was a really a way for me to get through that, knowing that my father, he's still here with me now. He's here. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing is jazz music. He loved jazz music. So when I hear it, it brings a smile to my face for my dad. So I just want to share that. Maybe it'll
Oh,
help someone.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So some of the practices for healing um is, we always talk about this, mindfulness and meditation. I can't even say that enough because it just taking recognition of your breath and taking the time to deep breath, deep breathe in deeply your breath and bring attention to it and focus on it is so healing. For me, it is. It allows me to be in that space where I'm bringing my attention to a certain space and focusing on what it is that I want to focus on. And I remember a couple years ago, I took a course on meditating. And it's good to know that when you start meditating, that you can do purposeful meditation where you can actually find topics that you're going to meditate on and take those topics and just listen to them, like pre-record yourself. Like you can record yourself about a topic of healing yourself with love and just walking yourself through it with the breath, and then play that back to yourself and then follow exactly what it is that you heard yourself say. And it could be any situation. It could be you're going through stress on the job, or you're having problems with a relationship, or just any topic in general that you want to talk about. When it comes to meditation, you can find that and you can use that as a way to get yourself mindfully connected to what it is that you're trying to accomplish so that you can relieve the stress that you're holding in your body. So another thing you can do is you can write letters to the loved one. You can do grounding practices and community and support. Right here at the Grand Rising Elizabeth, I hold dear this community because I can feel the support here in this community, and how it is so helpful to be amongst people that you can feel freely enough to talk about whatever it is that you need to talk about, and just to move through the space that you have in your life with ease. Sometimes ease, like right now, I don't have a feeling of ease. I have a feeling of pushing through, you know, no matter how I feel, just doing it anyway, no matter how I feel. So being able to do that inside of a community and have that support is very comforting in and of itself. Calvin, I see your hand raised.
We always feel, in their absence, we still feel their presence, because we don't realize that we're still connected even when you're not here. I remember after my dad passed, he passed in 93. I was going into the store and I had my jacket on, I had a coat on, my glass and a cap. And I went and when I was entering the store, I could see myself in the mirror and the glass. I said, wow, I look just like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you'll see that when you say things, you say, wow, that sounds just like my dad. For example, and they leave something inside you that's greater than anything they could leave for you. They're never gone. And when they leave, you feel their presence, their how they made you feel. The whole everything about them is still present within you. The things that you may not realize part of you, because you start talking, I reflect on my dad and the challenge that he had being married and children, all that. And I respect him now and understand a lot of things that he said now, because I'm 70 and I'm looking at my life and I see the value that he had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me when you said that, when my twin sister died. I mean, we were so much alike.
Yeah.
I would look in the mirror and I would see her. And then I'd be talking on the phone with somebody and I would hear her. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Tracy's voice.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, it's just amazing how much you can see. And then looking in the mirror now,
Mhm.
I see my mother. Like, I have a picture of me and my mama side by side that I put on her obituary.
Yeah.
And we both had on glasses and our faces look alike, our nose look alike. I'm like, man, she compares to my twin. She's just a little browner. Like, it's amazing how much, as I get older, I'm looking more and more like my mother. And I don't sound like her, but I know that some of the things that come out of my mouth or some of the things that I do is a result of the things that she shared with me, the love that she shared, how supportive she was, how encouraging she was, how giving she was, and sharing her love. All of that is inside of me because she shared that with me, and I am going to forever, as long as I'm here on this earth, share that with people, because when I'm sharing it with people, I feel like I'm sharing her and keeping her alive. Like you said, Calvin, they're not gone. They just somewhere else. And she's going to be forever in my heart. So
We always talk about generational conflict, but when we flip the script, we have to think about generational blessings, because we're a continuation of all the accumulation of all the experiences that have been a part of our lineage. So we're just here on a continuum having the same variation of the same experience now that has been a part of our experience since the beginning of time, And a scene in Roots 2, somebody said, I've got the keratin, but he said, we have the same struggle now that we've always had. The struggle, the human condition is constant throughout time. The technology changed, but the human condition is always there.
Yeah, it don't change. Like I was talking to Star earlier when we got on. She said it's a journey, and it's a journey that don't end.
Oh yeah.
It don't end at all. It's just
Mm-hmm.
from one phase to another phase. It's just always there, and the journeys are meant to be shared. And that is something that's profound to me even now more, I see it now more that sharing is a part of caring. And when you share, oh, you just help so many people out, because whatever it is that you're sharing, somebody is going to resonate with it. If you can start talking about an experience that you have in your life, and then when you start sharing that experience, it may not be exactly to the experience that you have that I'm sharing, but it's going to be something in that sharing that's going to resonate with them, even though it could be totally different what I'm sharing. And they're going to connect with you. And when they connect with you, they feel like, you know, a part of you, like they can communicate with you, like they can be on your, you know, in your space. So I want to do a little reflection exercise. And it's just a short one, you know, just closing our eyes and just focusing on the breath. And right now I'm going to call to mind my mom, the love that she shared. And just breathe in love. And as I breathe in love, I can breathe out love. If I breathe in joy, I can breathe out joy. Breathe out caring. Anything you breathe in, anything that you focus on, when you close your eyes, when you see that, you can bring into mind the face of the loved one. And when you see their face, I can still see my mom's face. And just breathe out all of the love that she breathed into me. Because guess what? God breathed love into her, and God breathed love into every last one of us. The breath of God, the love of God is in our lungs as we breathe and as we speak. And the love from them still lives in us today.
We are eternal beings.
Eternal.
Breath and spirit come from the same root word, and soul is the spiritual component on the personal level.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well said. So integration, how do we reframe grief? Like we said earlier, it's a journey. It's a journey, not a problem. And if we look at it as a journey and not a problem, it's going to help us reframe it. It's going to help us look at it in a different light. It's going to help us see it for exactly what it is. It's peace allowing love to flow. And that was one thing I will always say when I discovered my relationship with God, that God is peace, God is love. And one thing I said that I would never do, I would never allow anyone to take my peace. And if I'm not going to allow anyone to take my peace, I'm not going to allow anyone to distort my love. Because as long as I have God in my heart, which I do, and the breath in my lungs that He's given me, that love is going to continue to flow. And peace allows love to flow. And as long as you are at peace with that, knowing that God is the source and the strength of our lives, that we can allow peace to flow in ways that we never could imagine possible.
On a continuum, grief shows us how resilient we are, and it's a phrase they say, the indomitability of the human spirit.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah. So their closing thoughts. You see that tear on that sad face? You can cry as much as you want to cry, you know, because it's a part of grief. Sadness is a part of grief. Fear is a part of grief. Being angry is a part of grief. We have all of these emotions and feelings of grief. Some people, I was talking to my husband right after my mom died, and I was explaining that I watched my grandmother pass, and I watched her take her last breath. And the way my grandmother passed and the way my mom passed was so similar. I was at work when my mom called me and said that they said it wouldn't be long for my grandmother. So if you want to come, you need to come now. So I was able to leave work and I was able to come. And I sat with my grandmother and I held her hand. And I noticed her breathing was getting more labor, but it was the breathing with my grandmother was a little bit different with my mom. I was expecting the same way with my mom, but it was different. And I know why it was different. But with my grandmother, she was breathing and it was, she was taking long pauses in between the breaths. And I just knew that it wasn't going to be long. So I grabbed her hand and I held her hand and I massaged her hand because I wanted her to feel that I was there. And then I started talking to her and I let her know, Graham, it's okay to go. And it was about 2 breaths later, she inhaled and she never exhaled. So that same breath that God gave her, that he put into her lungs, she inhaled it. She didn't have to let it go. It went back. And to me, when I say that it was peaceful to see that, some people may not understand it, but for me, it was peaceful because when you breathe in and that breath goes back to God on that inhalation, the one less thing you have to do is to breathe out. You don't have to exhale anymore because your breath is with God now. You don't have to deal with any more pains of exhaling. It's a peaceful space. And when I saw that last breath, and not just with my mom and my grandmother, working as a nurse on hospice, watching people take their last breath, it was the most easiest thing that they had to do. Because before the breath, it was like, and then when they leave, it's just like, it was it. No more labor. That peace, that love, that breath went back where it came from. And to me, that was very peaceful. So as I watched my mom labor, my grandmother's was long and short and in between and deep, but my mom's was like I was just describing, that labored breathing. And I did the same thing. I grabbed her hand and I was holding her hand. And I know she could sense I was there. At least I think she can. But they say the hearing is the last thing to go. And her eyes was open and I closed them. And when I closed her eyes, they wanted to pop back open. So I held them down so that they wouldn't come back open. And I held them down long enough where I felt like they could stay down, because most people thought because her eyes was open that she was seeing what was going on, but her brain was not, she was not seeing anybody. They were just open. And when I looked at them, her eyes were fixed and dilated. And me being a nurse, seeing that fixed and dilation, I knew that that's how they determine if someone is gone. If their pupils are fixed and dilated, that means that they're not seeing anymore. And that was an experience for me because that was something that we used after death to determine that they were dead. But I saw this before my mom actually took her last breath. That's why I knew she wasn't seeing, and that's why I closed her eyes. And it was just amazing to see her take that last breath. And I looked over at my nephew and I said, Bobo, I said, I think she's getting ready to go. Because it was getting like, and then it was like, and I was like, Bobo, he said, should I get Michael? I was like, bring him in, tell him to come on in, because he was out on the porch talking to the lady that had just came, the hospice lady that had just came. And he went and got my brother. And when he got up and left to go get my brother, before he could come back, she had breathed her last breath. And to me, that was very peaceful. It was so peaceful. It was, I can't even describe how peaceful it was. Watching that breath go back to God and her not having to exhale again. But we need to embrace grief as a part of the soul's path. And when I say a soul, the soul is the seat of our emotions. So of course we're going to have all kinds of emotions dealing with grief, like I was saying, sadness, anger, unbelief, disbelief, fear, and all of these different emotions that we experience. It's the path that we travel. and we're going to experience those emotions. And we have to remember that all of these emotions that we experience is deep down in our soul, and it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the path that we use to travel along the way. So it's something to be looked at. Grief and love in and of itself is the same to me, because I can remember the person that was here, and I can remember all the love that was shared. Go ahead, Deetra.
I just want to say I want to give you a hug right now. I mean, I applaud your strength because you're going through this, but you're dealing with something else in underneath. I just want to give you a hug, honey.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel that. So go ahead. Um, um, I can't see your name and I'm drawing a blank. I'm so sorry.
Kafira,
Unmute yourself.
yeah, will you?
You're still not
Yeah, you're still
unmuted.
muted. Oh man.
Keep trying. Don't let that mute button win.
Oh,
Is there any way we can unmute her?
There you
can you
go.
hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What came up for me is the pieces in the release.
Yes.
And I know that my mom is with me.
Yes.
And there's a lot that I need to release and stop holding myself hostage. I thank you for this opportunity to clear up some things within me. And I'm going to spend the rest of the day with self-care and writing a letter to my mom.
Oh, wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an expression of love.
Yes.
When you write that letter to your mom, you're doing you're acting the love out. You're acting out what is already in you and what was already in her. And like I said, when we breathe in that breath is love.
Yes,
And
yes.
it never dies.
Yes.
Ever.
It never dies.
Yeah. Well, the other person that I've been grieving over is my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have his ashes.
Mm-hmm.
But today, you have given me the strength and the courage to move powerfully forward.
Yes.
And I just wrote and will continue to write this. The title of it is The Death of Death.
Yes.
Mm.
So I just want to thank you. I love you all. And I thank you because I do feel peace
Yes.
over me right now and eliminating, ooh, diminishing, the grief. And I feel strength returning back to me. And I know that I'm here for a purpose
Yes.
and
Yes.
this time and season. Thank you.
No,
You're
thank
so
you.
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you for sharing that. That is so profound. And I am glad that you have been given a measure of peace, because sometimes we don't give ourselves grace. And I was telling my husband after I told him my mom passed and I was sharing the experience with my mom and grandma. Um, the next day, he didn't get out of the bed. He was sleeping late. And I went in there. I'm like, why are you still sleeping? He said, I'm depressed.
Mm.
I'm like, why are you depressed? He said, because when my mom died, and his mom, granted, died over 50 years ago. When my mom died, I could have been there and I wasn't.
Mm.
He was sad that he wasn't there when his mom died and he could have been. And I had to tell my husband, listen, you've got to give yourself some grace because that's a guilt. That's another one of the emotions that we hold on to is guilt. Why come I didn't do this? If I could have, would have, should have. You know, you can't hold on to that too long. You have to give yourself some grace in knowing that if it was for you to be there, you would have been there. And you can't beat yourself up over that. So I basically told him, get up out this bed. I wasn't taking the grieving process away from him because he was sharing it with me. And I was giving him the opportunity to say, hey, give yourself some grace. You deserve it, you know. And your mom would want you to give yourself some grace. She wouldn't want you pondering over the fact that because you were not there, that you got to carry this empty hole in your heart. Take your mom's love and add grace to it and sprinkle a little bit of peace in there and move on from that particular
Point in time.
yeah, not so much the point in time, but move on from the I don't
Who
know
you,
if I
who
can,
you was at that time.
yeah, the anger, I think it was. What he's holding on to is being angry about the fact that he wasn't there, you know. And so I also let him know that, you know, it's part of it. It's normal. Every emotion that we experience as we going through this grief process is normal. And nobody should ever be judged for the way that they grieve, the way that they feel. We just need to offer a helping hand to those that are grieving and help them through it and transition to it, because some people get so stuck and deep down in a hole that they can't find their way out. And that's why community is so important, to help someone that is stuck to move from that place of being stuck to a place of peace, because God wants us in that place of peace. He wants us to be able to know who he is and how we came here, the breath that we have in our body, and where the breath is going back to, and that we will meet again. We will see them again because they're with God. And if you're going to be with God, then hey, we're going to all be together again. They're just not here in that shell.
This is a powerful form because it's a when you can talk. The thoughts, the feelings, and emotions are all one. So the thoughts of grief, the feelings of grief, and the emotions of grief. How you deal with expressing yourself is the key, because you're doing what you know how to do. It's a subjective and personal experience, and like you said, nobody can tell you how to grieve and how not to grieve. This is you processing it yourself. Um, in reference to your husband, I lost my mother when I was young. But the thing about it, when you lose your mother, you still have a need to have that maternal connection. So with you and his daughters and other women, you never lose that person. You transfer that energy onto another facsimile thereof. So having you give them a chance to give something to you that wasn't able to give it to your mother. Now, my mother passed within six weeks from being diagnosed. But before she went in the hospital, I bought her a wash machine that she never used. She had a Ringer wash machine. So that was an enormous task. But I'm saying that to say is that I wash now, and I'm always thanking my mother.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah.
Stacy,
Yes.
if you're done with the presentation, can you stop sharing and bring us all back together?
Thank you. So yeah, if anybody have any stories that they want to share about their loved ones or about the love and the peace that they have found after their transition, and or any struggles that they're dealing with regarding a loss of a loved one, feel free. Deetra?
Okay, greetings again. I did share about my father, but in addition to that, I want to share about my grandson, Braden. You know, he lived 4 months and then he transitioned. But you know what? One thing I look for mostly every day is a bird. A bird will come on my windowsill or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think that's Brayden coming to say, hey, Grandma. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say hello to him, but it's
And
through a bird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I want to share that. That's a nice little thing to remember.
Thanks for sharing that.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else? Queen, did you want to say something? Go ahead. Unmute yourself. You can't unmute yourself?
Oh, hey.
I think she's trying to unmute herself.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm breathing in peace. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm breathing in
Wow.
peace. I'm breathing in love.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
breathing in caring.
Mhm.
Everything that I could think of that is associated with the breath of God and what God has to offer us, the Spirit of God,
Yes.
joy, peace, long suffering, meekness, kindness, temperance, all of that stuff that's associated with the Spirit of God.
Yes.
I'm breathing it all in.
We're good,
And I'm
good,
exhaling
good.
relief. I'm exhaling love. I'm exhaling the very thing that I breathe in. I'm going to exhale it until God takes my last breath and I go home with him.
Yes.
I'm going to give back. Go ahead, Queen.
yes, I finally got it off. Now, I was going to ask Star, well, first, Grand Rising, everyone. Star, did you tell them about Mama, what she said about being stuck?
No.
Share that, please.
On our mother made her transition on August the 1st, 2019. And on the morning of her service, I asked Mama, I said, Mama, what am I supposed to take away from this?
Mhm.
And she said, do not get stuck in this moment of pain.
Mm.
And so I shared that because I was supposed to get up there and read the cards or something I was supposed to do. And I got up there and I said, what's on the program for me to do, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
And I told them what our mother said.
Mhm.
And then after that, Queen got up there and she talked about forgiveness because there was a lot of unforgiveness, not only in the family, but in some of the people that were there that we knew what was going on in their life.
Uh-huh.
And like I believe it was Calvin was talking about guilt. Guilt, if you don't let it go, will eat you up.
Yes.
What you felt that you did not do when they were here, write the letter, forgive yourself for doing it, write the letter to them and let it go and move on your journey because they would not want you to just stay in that guilt, whatever it is you felt that you didn't do for them,
Mhm.
let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go because your journey here has to continue.
Right. Thank you for sharing that because it's so important not to get stuck. But it's so important also that if we know somebody that is stuck, to help them through the process because they're stuck in the process and they're not able to move forward without some assistance from someone. And, um, there's a scripture that says, Apollos, somebody watered, planted the seed and somebody watered it, but God gave the increase. God eventually is going to help them because they still have the breath of God in their life. But if we see people having burdens like that, we're supposed to bear one another's burdens, and then we're supposed to take those burdens to God, and then we take them to God. God knows what to do with it from there. So God will give the increase. So definitely try to help someone that you know that is going through grief, that is stuck. And thanks for sharing that, because like I was telling my husband, give yourself some grace, come up out of that. You can't lay in this bed, because laying in this bed is not going to get you where you need to go. So that being said, we're a little bit after the hour. I just want to remind everyone that's viewing, I did also drop a podcast today on this very topic, and it's in a different, it's expressed in a different way. And my YouTube channel is Mindful Living with Nurse Stacy. And I'd like you to go, if you haven't already, to subscribe to my channel, like, and then in the comments, share anything that you want to share in the comments about what it is that you took away from that particular topic on grief. So we're going to give ourselves a hug.
Hey.
And the hug that we're giving ourselves is also the hug that we're giving our loved ones. Mama! I used to always say, Mama, and she would say, Stacy.
Mama.
And I go through the house when I'm missing my mom, and I just like, Mama, right now, and let's hug the world. Bring them in, help them through these transition phases in their journeys, and sprinkle that love everywhere we go. The love that our loved ones have, sprinkle it out to the world, that's how we're going to move love forward. Okay?
Yes, Stacy.
Yes.
I thank you.
Thank you.
And I was looking at depression, the word depression, and in that is I put on.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. I mean, like, I have tears for you right now, because and I'm glad that this somebody, because it definitely helped me, even though I'm still grieving and haven't buried my mom yet. This helps a lot.
Okay.
Just to be able to share this with you, and just to see you have a breakthrough means all the world to me.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for being here, for being present.
Yes.
The gift. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to say to everybody, peace.
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 God.
Ooh, thank you.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
God bless.